Hi everyone, this is Luca from Oasis. I lead the DeFi efforts at Oasis, and today is really great to have Jeremy from Balancer Protocol with us. So, Jeremy, you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do at Balancer?
Sure. So I'm Jeremy Musighi, head of growth at Balancer Labs. Um, a little about my background. I've been a crypto investor and researcher since 2013 as founder and CIO of Immutable Capital. And I've also previously been founder of two tech companies, revenue.com and Sesh, which both were acquired. And at Balancer, in many ways, and through wearing many different hats, I support the community-driven growth and expansion of the Balancer protocol.
So, thanks, Jeremy. Do you want to tell us a little bit of what Balancer is, what kind of problems that it solves, and what is an automated market maker in general, and what role it plays in the general DeFi ecosystem, and why that is important for the entire development?
Sure. So first off, none of this conversation is financial or investment advice of any kind, just to get that out of the way. But I'll start with like the concept of an AMM or automated market maker, which is kind of complicated, but it's a type of decentralized exchange architecture. So if you think about the stock market, which runs on an order book model, which means that there's a system that pairs buyers and sellers together in order for a trade to happen. An AMM is a different model where actually there's a smart contract that acts as a partner in every trade. So every trade that you make on an AMM platform, you're actually trading with a smart contract as opposed to a counterparty or another person. So and to elaborate on that, so these smart contracts, they contain what's called a liquidity pool. And a liquidity pool is like a stockpile of tokens that ensures that the token that you want to buy, for example, is sufficiently available so that you can make the trade that you want to make. So you're always selling one token for another token, and whatever you are looking to get in return needs to be sufficiently in supply. So that's what these liquidity pools ensure. And this makes it so that no one is stuck with an unfilled order for a long period of time. And it also has this effect where the more liquidity there is for an asset, the more resistant that asset becomes to price shocks, and the more stable then the prices are. So those are some of the general concepts of an AMM, the general reasons why AMMs exist. Balancer in particular is an AMM that is designed specifically to have very high flexibility, and that allows it to serve as a financial primitive for many different use cases. So the Balancer protocol has some core features, such as, I believe we don't want to get too technical here, so I'm going to keep it high level, but you can let me know if you want me to drill further on anything. But in general, sort of in the core use cases or the core features of Balancer, we have liquidity providers who can be anyone who provides basically deposits assets into Balancer's liquidity pools. They're held in these smart contracts, and they sort of help the whole system run. And the benefit of doing that is as an investor who puts their assets in a liquidity pool, is basically getting an auto rebalancing index fund that pays you fees for holding your money, basically. And additionally, we have a liquidity mining program on the Balancer protocol right now. So liquidity providers for many of the Balancer pools are also receiving the BAL token, which we can get more into detail about what that is later. So that's how liquidity providers can interact with Balancer. On the other side, you have traders, of course. So Balancer acts as a decentralized exchange. So traders come to Balancer to make trades with high liquidity and with minimal slippage, meaning that they would get the best price possible. And that's what Balancer is really designed to do. And the third type of user that will interact with Balancer is arbitragers. So, and again, keeping it high level, one of the things that is crucial to the design, the functionality of Balancer is that all liquidity pools on Balancer must maintain a certain set balance. And when they are out of balance, which occurs naturally as trades are made, that actually opens up an opportunity for an arbitrager to come in and profit from those imbalances, and by doing that, they actually put those pools back into balance. So, that's kind of like the core functionality, which is the liquidity pools and how they serve functions to different types of users. But really, Balancer is actually a lot more than that. Balancer is it's a building block for DeFi, and our decentralized exchange not only supports direct trading through like the Balancer interface, but it also supports dApps throughout the DeFi ecosystem that need liquidity, and that can be, for example, DEX aggregators or smart wallets that allow you to make trades or different types of transactions within their interface, but on the back end they're sending that through Balancer. And then we also have what are called smart pools on Balancer, which unlock really like endless use cases. I feel like today, which is still very early in Balancer's life as a protocol, we've really only kind of discovered as a community some of these use cases, but there are already some really exciting ones. So I'll give you some examples. There's a team called PyDAO, which has used Balancer's infrastructure to create managed index funds, which they offer to the market in the form of a tokenized asset. And that tokenized asset that you can buy is a way for you to hold a diversified investment in a portfolio of different assets just through one token. And they've created different types of portfolios, different types of these like managed index funds that are represented by different PyDAO tokens. And all of that is made possible by the Balancer protocol. And all of that is built on top of the Balancer protocol. Another example is there are some really popular dApps such as 1inch Exchange and Zapper.fi. Both of those teams integrated their technology with Balancer so that while users are on their platform using the various functions and features that they offer, some of the features that they can also interact with is to directly make trades through Balancer, and also to directly add or remove liquidity from pools that are on Balancer within the interface, within the experience of that application itself. And I'll give you a couple more examples. There's a team called Perpetual Protocol, which used Balancer recently to actually conduct a token sale. They were launching their brand new perp token, and they did this through what's called an LBP, or a liquidity bootstrapping pool. Without getting too complicated, that is a certain configuration of a Balancer pool that lets you set a specific window of time where you are allowing people to buy your token through a token sale mechanism. And this allows that process to happen in a way that's very transparent and fair, so that all of the members of the community of a crypto protocol have a chance to invest and participate and be an active owner in the network. And I'll just give one last one, which is smart treasuries. Kind of mind-blowing, really. It's an idea that came from one of our lead investors at Placeholder, Joel Venegro. He wrote a really interesting blog about this recently on the Placeholder blog. But the general idea is that you can actually use a balancer pool to act as a treasury fund for your crypto protocol, and to manage that, you manage your treasury assets in a way that best optimizes the liquidity of your token and the way that you sort of spend and manage your funds. So definitely recommend looking into that, but I think it would be too long for this conversation.
Yeah, and that's great. Thanks for this explanation. I think it's really great that you explain both how Balancer solves a lot of problems related to traders and people who have that immediate incentive, and also at the same time serves developers who are trying to embed a new set of DeFi applications that are powered by protocols. At Oasis, the thing that I want to say here, we love to work with companies that have this level of connotation, because people who will come and build application on the Oasis network, the one thing they really care about is finding places that and a set of preset integrations that somehow will enable the next generation of DeFi applications that they want to build. So we feel this is really in line with what Oasis tries to accomplish. So moving to the aspects that you are finding challenging, or that Balancer is finding challenging, in terms of like solving the main problems that you are facing today, I'd be particularly interested in understanding what kind of problems you guys are tackling on a daily basis, with a particular reference to what do you think is needed to bring more and more users to DeFi, and where do you see the next wave of DeFi growing, let's say?
Yeah, so I think, Balancer really thrives when the developer community, like startups, enterprises, entrepreneurs, and all different kinds of people involved in software development and smart contract development get involved and use our infrastructure to build useful applications. And that's a big reason for our growth thus far, is how different teams have really looked at our technology and come up with a way that they can use it to either build something or to enhance something that they built. So some of our top focuses right now are number one, making it as cost efficient as possible for traders to execute trades on Balancer. And traders can be individual people, but they can also be applications. They can be systems that are trading tokens through some part of their underlying functionality. So that's the first thing. And second thing is making it as easy as possible to integrate with Balancer and to build on Balancer. So, we're really addressing that in how we are designing Balancer V2. So right now, Balancer V1 is the first version of Balancer, which is currently live today. And in V2, we're making some changes to the technical architecture of the system, which will really optimize the cost of each transaction by optimizing the amount of gas that's required, also making major improvements in the ease of integration with Balancer. And but I also think another aspect of the question that you're asking is like in the bigger grand ecosystem, the bigger picture of DeFi, what's needed, what needs to happen in order for growth to continue and to accelerate beyond its current rate. So I think the first most obvious one is scalability and high throughput are really crucial requirements for DeFi to really reach its potential, and that's something that's really holding DeFi back right now on the Ethereum blockchain. And so despite all the things that are great about Ethereum, it's really struggling on the scalability side, and that's something that needs to be solved one way or another. And of course, there are many different solutions that are being worked on and proposed, and there are other teams like Oasis Network that are offering a solution that could potentially be that alternative. And I think, we need to continue to improve the user experience. We need to continue to improve the ease of use of DeFi applications. I think that as a space in general, as an industry, we've been making great progress on that side, but that is something that certainly needs to continue, and many other factors, but those are two important ones.
That's great to hear. I agree with you. Like, clearly, scalability is possibly the most obvious one. We also have an interesting angle of scalability. Often is sort of mistaken with number of transactions only, but reality is that the effect that not having scalability, let me say this with other words, not having scalability is causing some side effects that are strongly limiting participation of a bigger pool of people. I can think of transaction costs, of course, directly, but also the ability of engaging partners that already have huge distribution. And maybe one thing I can think of is more technologically advanced fintech companies, let's say. They cannot even touch DeFi because it would be really, really impossible. So we really believe that is one of the aspects. We clearly think that privacy also plays a role there. And when we think of privacy at Oasis, we generally think of privacy as a combination of mainly two aspects. The first one is the ability of protecting trades and protecting commercial interests and everything that has to do with putting, not revealing strategies and all these aspects. But also the second part of our definition of privacy has to do with the ability of building this data liquidity layer, if you want to call it like that is controlled by the user, and it's put at the service of protocols on top. And here we can think of credit score, decentralized and queryable credit score, or some level of reputational system. And again, it would be a completely separate conversation. But I wanted to get your sense on whether the role of privacy in DeFi is something we should be expecting as one of the engines of the next generation of DeFi apps.
Yeah, I think on a philosophical level, personally, I feel that privacy is a critical human right. I think everyone should have the option to protect their privacy. And I think it's great to see that, the Oasis team has made that such a priority in the fundamental design of the Oasis network. I think that's, a really great property of the protocol. And I think that, as you mentioned, there are certain really important use cases in society that really, probably wouldn't make sense on a blockchain or on a protocol that is not, that does not offer the option for privacy. Privacy of data, privacy of transactions. I think credit score is a great example. I think when it comes to health information, health records, that's also something that we may eventually see being brought onto the blockchain, but there needs to be privacy protections for that to really be done right, and for people to feel comfortable with it. Certainly, that's something that I would want to keep private. So, yeah, I think layer one solutions that offer privacy can certainly take the lead in onboarding those use cases that are very sensitive to privacy into the decentralized blockchain-based world, maybe most quickly, and take advantage of that opportunity, while other blockchains that are fully public maybe don't have a straightforward solution for that.
Yeah, thanks for that. We also noticed that, clearly we echo everything you just said. We also noticed that the absence of privacy, or maybe the presence of full transparency, let's say the other way around, has the side effect of incentivizing behaviors of maybe more, let's call them self-motivated, perhaps miners and traders, that sort of take advantage of this component of Ethereum to, I don't know, front run or other behaviors that may not be working in the interest of, let's say, the masses. So we also think that privacy, on top of being a human right and on top of being very relevant for a lot of applications, as you just said, which again is exactly why we exist. But we also notice like this recent tendency of the ability of using privacy as an enabler for protecting against some of the behaviors that the community in general doesn't like, right? So going to the joint grant that Oasis and Balancer are issuing, and here, for people who are not familiar with that, given that we just announced it, Oasis and Balancer are issuing a joint grant to develop and experiment how Balancer would perform on the Oasis network. So I was curious to hear more from you, like what are your expectations, and let's say if you can elaborate more about this idea of issuing this grant and working with Oasis to make that happen.
Sure. So yeah, first some background on the Balancer ecosystem fund, which is making this possible. This is really a vehicle for supporting projects that we think can help grow and enhance the Balancer ecosystem. So it's such an important part of building the long-term future and growth of Balancer. And the way that it works, sort of briefly, is the Balancer community votes to approve batches of grants. And once we have a live batch of grants that's been approved, we then really open up to the community for proposals, and anyone can make a proposal for a project that they would like to build, that they think would bring value to the Balancer ecosystem, and to receive funding for it. And it's a really amazing win-win situation where members of the community, and this is anyone, anyone who's interested in Balancer can be a member of the Balancer community, and anyone who has an idea can really get involved and propose something. On the opposite side, there are also specific ideas that have already been that the community or the Balancer Labs team has discussed or come up with that we think would be really awesome for someone to build. So we also will be soon getting more involved in offering bounties for a specific project with a specific definition, and putting that out to the community for people to come in and basically claim that bounty and take on that project. So, and as far as the status of the grant program, we just completed our first batch, and we'll be making a proposal to the Balancer community to approve a second batch very soon. which would be, a really exciting opportunity to continue to promote growth in this way. And specifically, the Oasis grant is an opportunity for us to provide funding for community development of Balancer on the Oasis network. And this is something that we are excited to put out there, so that teams that have the expertise to make this happen can come in and offer that expertise to win this project, to complete specified milestones that Balancer and Oasis together will define for these projects, and for the specific features, functions, etc., that we would be looking for. And this is an opportunity for us to, as you said, experiment and learn from how Balancer performs on Oasis, leveraging its unique properties that are different from the Ethereum protocol, where Balancer primarily is. And this is like kind of a combination for us of a research project today, but also an investment in the future. If Oasis can really grow and build a strong DeFi ecosystem, then Balancer can play a role in that and helping bringing liquidity on chain, and that would be something really exciting.
Yeah, likewise. This is exactly why I think Balancer and Oasis got together. Like, there was this mutual vision of issuing a grant to the community and involving the community in the development of this protocol on the Oasis. I think it's been great working with you guys, because you've been very open about trying to support, I mean, clearly if the community approves that, but try to support the development and try to support the company that is going to come and build this integration, providing your expertise and maybe like helping in a few very important elements that will significantly speed up the development. On our side, we also have our community grant program that is meant to like foster and support early stage builders. So I think the mutual interest there, in order to A, build Balancer on Oasis, B, learn from the privacy needs, the privacy aspects, the scalability benefits, and all this like package that can serve Balancer with a new set of properties, as I just said, I think is extremely exciting for us. And that was the reason why we invested a lot of energy in this, because we thought the alignment of intents was extremely like strong and powerful. So thanks a lot for supporting that. I bet everyone is really excited to move this forward. So I think we are almost out of time. I wanted to ask you, what's next for DeFi? I would have asked you what's next for Balancer, but you already referenced that before with the Balancer V2. We're all very excited to see that coming to life. Maybe like a closing thought on what's next for DeFi, and what do you think is going to happen in the next period of time?
Yeah, so I think that probably definitely one of the big areas for evolution in DeFi is governance, decentralized governance. I think that during this last year or so, a lot of really interesting progress has been made, and projects have really gone out and pushed the limits on pushing towards a more decentralized future and putting more and more power into the hands of the community to make decisions in deciding the future of these protocols each day. So I think that I'm very excited about that. I also think that it's still very early. I think there's a lot of research, a lot of learning, a lot of experimentation, a lot of mistakes that will generally are going to happen in the ecosystem, and that we'll all learn from, so that we can continue to iterate and improve on how we handle decentralized governance. As I mentioned before, scaling issues are top of the list of priorities to be solved in DeFi. And I think, overall, I'm expecting growth to continue. We've seen so much new liquidity, so much new capital flow into DeFi during this recent boom cycle. And, even after things calm down, a lot of that new liquidity has remained, which shows you that there's real growth happening. This is not a flash that happens and then disappears. This is like legitimate progress. So I think that's all stuff to be really excited about.
I agree. I think DeFi became stronger. I was personally not a big fan of that slide total number of dollars locked in DeFi. I didn't think it was like a super great representation of the growth of DeFi because it was too attached to the dollar value and growth and up to. It's much more important, which is there's been waves of DeFi, and no matter what, liquidity has been there. People haven't pulled back. The growth is real. The growth is there. And I think we're all excited because this is probably like the very first moment where DeFi is proving to be like maybe stronger than what some sort of people or skeptics were actually thinking. So that's extremely excited. We're all in this together. We'll make this industry definitely more and more advanced as we speak and as we enable more and more collaborations. We're very excited to move this to the next steps. Thanks a lot for this early engagement, and we're looking forward to the next steps. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you. Good to speak with you, Luca.
Thank you.